What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? Because you guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. And yes, it is Tuesday. It is the 25th of January. And today we are talking about an album that is coming out on February 11th called Deadlock by InVisions. And who do we have on the podcast? We have InVisions on the podcast. So before we jump for the whole podcast, I want to thank our sponsors first, Phoenix Fitness. Yes, we're getting towards the end of January, I know, but if you're still on that New Year's resolution kick of getting healthy, getting in shape, lifting the weights like Arnold, yeah, or just lifting the weights like me and running and gunning and doing all the stuff, on the hamster wheel, on the treadmill, or down the bike, or whatever it might be, achieving your fitness goals, that's fantastic. Keep it up. Keep going at it. But if you're also looking for something, help you recover right, help you prepare right, and make sure you achieve those fitness goals, that's where Phoenix Fitness comes in. They have different products to help you get to those fitness goals, such as different pre-workouts, both sim and sim-free, to help fuel your workout right before you get going. I use the sim-free stuff because, well, you guys know how much energy I have. It's wild. I'm on like 3 hours of sleep right now, but I really don't give a shit. I'm still cranked up. They also have BCAA recovery compounds to help you recover better, protein to help you build muscle for your morning, your midnight, or your nighttime, I should say, and right after your workout. Creatine to help you build muscle, multivitamins to help, get those vitamins in you. Anything you might need, Phoenix Fitness has for you. Our listeners get 15% off using the code MSOTD at fnxfit.com. Link in description of the podcast. Our second sponsor is Custom Debuts. So you want some cool custom posters when it comes to different bands. Any band you want, say you want a custom poster around Deadlock by InVisions, which, now that I think about that, it's actually not a bad idea considering what we talk about the album on this podcast. It's a freaking good album, like a really good album. Enough about that. So what I could do is I could go give them the album, give them the band name, and what they'll do is they'll make a custom poster around the album artwork and the track listing for me, and they'll give me a proof in like 48 hours what it'll look like. If I don't like it, I can tell them what to change about it. They'll change it for me, and until I'm satisfied, they'll make as many changes as I want. When I'm satisfied, thumbs up, and they can send it out to you with either like a print on, normal poster paper, a canvas print, or even a metallic metal aluminum sign print to be the coolest person in your office, the envy of all your friends, and just put something cool in your garage and be like, yeah, I did that. So our listeners get 10% off using the code CPP10 at checkout for custom debuts. Thank you guys. Now, InVisions, my God. So their song Gold-Blooded was the first song that I heard back in 2020 from the band. They've got a brand new coming out called Deadlock, which comes out on February 11th of 2022. We talk about the band, getting back out on the road. We talk about the band's new album, and it is nuts. So this will be a great way to describe what I think of the album. I bought a vinyl variant of the album immediately after the podcast ended. That's how good this album is, and that's how good it's going to be. So to get you ready for the album, please welcome the guys from InVisions to the Chord Progression Podcast. Are you ready? I sure as hell am. Let's go! Yeah! This episode is mint. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. You guys know me. I love me some metalcore, and I can't help it. And I actually found about this band that we're interviewing today back in 2020 with the release of their single Gold-Blooded. I remember listening, I'm like, okay, I got to get this band on the podcast at some point. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen at some point. Now they have a brand new album called Deadlock coming out on February 11th of 2022, and I can't wait to talk about everything with this band, including the new album and everything that comes along with it. So please welcome to the podcast, Alex, Ben, and Lucas from the band InVisions. So guys, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Yo. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks for being on, guys. It took me a little bit of time to actually get this one put together, just trying to figure out, schedules and everything with you guys over in the UK, me in the US. But you know what? If I'm going to want something to happen on the podcast, I'm going to want to get a band here. I'm going to make it happen one way or another. And boom, now we're here today. So yeah.
Thanks, fuck.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being on, guys. I mean, now I got to ask, how's everything been going over with you guys in the UK? Just started the new year. You got the new album coming out. How's it been going on that front? How's it been going on your end? And just how you been doing?
Hey, it's good. We're all finally excited about something, Yeah, I think we just played our first shows in 2 years, new record, everything's stepped up. It's probably the most exciting, time for us right now. I think we're all definitely having more fun in the last 3 months than we've had in fucking 2 years, which is a delight.
Literally.
It's
been a rough time, hasn't it? Let's be real. But we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So the grin's getting wider,
The Chelsea grin.
Yeah. So even the same over here. It's just okay. There's stuff opening up back up like completely. It's beginning to look like more normal, and all of a sudden, it's every single day. It feels like I see some sort of post on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it might be, a brand new tour package that's going to be like touring the US like in the spring and the summer, and I just sit here thinking, okay, how much of my money am I going to end up spending on these shows? It's like anytime I get a chance, like, okay, all of a sudden, I think like the day we're recording this, all of a sudden Parkway Drive to announce a US tour. I'm like, and I'm getting messages up there. I'm like, okay, you got to come to this. Other bands from all over the world, including from the UK as well, are coming over here. It's like, okay, am I going to end up going to see them? And I just do this. Yeah, I'm going to. So I'm going to be watching for InVisions to come to the US though.
Oh, mate, me
waiting
too.
as well. It will happen.
I think
eventually, though, mate. It's got to.
That's like top of our fucking hit list, isn't it? But yeah, the US tour packages that are going out at the moment are fucking insane. Like, I think the two strongest places for touring in the world at the moment seem to be the UK and US. It's like the most consistent that things seem to actually be happening. And I saw the same Parkway Drive announcement today, and I think they're doing their first US tour with all like their pyro and shit. So that's going to be pretty fucking crazy. Pretty jealous about that.
I'm kind of curious to see how expensive those tickets are going to be, because it's going to be a thing. Okay, how much is this? They're going to see the price. I'm going to see all the ticket fees and just go, alrighty, this is going to go on the credit card, and we'll pay it off a little bit later.
You're directly paying for those gas canisters for all them fucking flamethrowers, dude.
Hey, if I'm paying that much money, can they like actually like send me up there with one of those flamethrowers? Because I'm paying for the gas canister. Let me just do it myself.
I thought you were going to say then, like, if you're paying that much money, can they at least set me on fire?
I tell you what, I saw Rammstein at Download a couple of years ago, and their keyboard player, they put him in this massive like this fucking tank thing. It's like it's meant to be like a metal like cauldron. And they actually start blasting that with flamethrowers whilst he's in it. It's insane. So yeah, never know. Maybe hit Rammstein up and they might set you on fire.
I mean, and all of a sudden, if something happens where I actually get set on fire, not just in that little like cocoon that the keyboard is in, just basically end up becoming a huge like human flame, end up becoming Human Torch from the Fantastic Four, and all of a sudden start rolling around the ground trying to stop, drop, and roll. They extinguish me, and it's like, oh well, is he gonna end up suing the band? No, I just became a rock and roll legend by getting myself lit on fire during the Rammstein show. How would that not be like the best thing ever?
I fucking love that.
All right.
As long as it doesn't hurt my skin too much, where I can still go into any mosh pit I damn well please, then I am A-okay with that.
I tell you what, mate. If not, you'll be going into like your next show looking like Freddy Krueger. So at least Ice Nine Kills will probably be able to put you in a music video. So it's a win-win.
I mean, that would definitely make a lot of sense. Also, with the fact that anytime I get a chance to see an Ice Nine Kills show, I am there. I'm like in 2021, I saw him 4 times in the span of 2 weeks because I just couldn't help myself. Like I wanted to see him so bad, and I'm just like, if I get a chance to see him, I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah,
dude. Sure. Yeah, we haven't seen them yet. Like they were meant to be playing Slam Dunk in the UK this past year, and obviously because everything it doesn't make sense for a lot of people to come over from the US at the moment, particularly like earlier on in the year. So they had to drop out, and I was fucking devoed because it was meant to be like them and Polaris and like a lot of bands I've been waiting to see for a long ass time, and big sad.
You guys are gonna honestly, you guys should just probably come over to the US for like this, like the first 2 weeks in April. I swear to God, just come to the US because just for the first 10 days, this is the first 10 days of April, I'm going to see shows Amity Affliction and then the Motionless in White Ice Nine Kills Black Veil Bride show twice. And also throwing on top of that Polaris and like Moss to Flame. So if you guys want to come over for like a week and a half and just see all these shows, by all means do it.
Yeah, dude, just send us your fucking postcode. We're there, right? We'll keep on your doorstep, mate. All over it.
Because I'm just here knocking on like at like 3 a.m. I'm like, what the hell's going on? All of a sudden, all 3 of you guys are gonna be here. It's like we're ready to go to these shows. Me, shit, I still gotta work in the morning. All right, fuck it, we're doing this.
It's all good, mate. You told us you operate on 3 hours of sleep. We know you're good for it. We know you're going to answer that door any time of the day.
Oh, I'm good for it. And all of a sudden, get me into a concert. I can be the most dead person ever in terms of just like energy. I could feel just absolutely horrible. Like, I was the most sickest person in the world. This has happened before. And then all of a sudden, go to a show. I'm feeling it. All of a sudden, first band goes on. That music hits. And it's just like, whoosh. I'm off. Like, there is no way you're stopping me. So 3 hours of sleep and just basically driving all over the place. Going to see these shows, you guys. Honestly, that sounds like a perfect idea, and Hell, give me 3 hours of sleep, I'm good.
Game on.
But enough with like other shows that have been going on, because you guys said you recently played some of your first shows since the pandemic had started, correct?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
So how did all this go, especially, coming back? Were you guys jittery at all? Were you guys nervous? Or did you just get back up on stage, play one song, and we're like, you know what? Fuck yeah, we're back. This is normal. This is perfect. Let's go.
To be fair, like right at the start, go on, Al. Go on, mate.
I was going to say, like, for the first time in years, I was actually nervous for shows. We played like two festivals before we actually went on tour in December. We played 2 festivals in October. I was actually bricking it before going on stage, and I haven't had that in years. I don't know what it was like for you guys.
Mate, that first show we played as well, like over lockdown, we'd like upgraded all our gear, like we'd switched like in-ears and changed everything. And obviously we were playing like 3 new songs. We hadn't even played Gold Blooded live yet. And I think that first show back, because there's so many different things, and also we hadn't played shows, pretty much everything that could go wrong went wrong. People still liked the show, but for us personally, we were like, holy shit. So like, it wasn't a case of blowing off the cobwebs. We were like, fuck me. We need to get back into this and quickly. But luckily, the second show back was an absolute stonker, wasn't it? That was definitely the moment where we kind of all walked off stage. We were like, okay, this is this is fucking mint. But yeah, definitely nervous.
No,
it's weird.
Well.
I think we've got more riding on it now. Like we've got a little bit more attention through COVID. Obviously, we released Gold Blooded. Yeah, and that song kind of, did really, really well for us, like more than we kind of ever expected, more like attention than we've ever had before. I think, coming back out of it, we had to make sure that we lived up to everything, and it was us not really kind of, being thrown into it completely nervous again, and like not having played the shows in 2 years. It was trying to find your feet and trying to find them quickly. But yeah, I think it definitely reassured exactly why we're doing this and what we want to do. And it's like, fell back into place fairly quickly after them too.
Yeah, no, that was probably I haven't been like that nervous for like, at the start of tour anyway, for like shows, but then I blew my voice out because it's so like, I hadn't had to do anything scream wise or rough vocal wise for so long. So my voice wasn't used to it. And obviously your throat isn't like, just like restringing a guitar or anything. So when I blew it out every night, I was like really like cautious of how I was going to sound or whatever. So the nerves still carried on, but not because I was playing a show, just because of how this was my throat was going to pan out. But luckily managed to see out the tour and whatever. But like when we got home, it was about 4 days after when my voice actually came back. So
I think you did a fucking impressive job, considering like we'd be on the way to the show and Ben could not physically talk, but then we'd get on stage on the night and still managed to like pull off some of the fucking dirty screams you've heard all year. And you're like, I don't understand how someone can't talk, but yet can still make these fucking satanic noises. It's yeah, I think considering, you were having a bit of a time with that, you did a fucking great job, man.
Yeah, it was brutal, but we did it. And here we are.
So it's kind of like that moment that, like, even with me with going to live music, where all of a sudden, it's like once the music hits, it's just like I get transcended to a different place. Probably the same thing with your voice as well, where all of a sudden it hits, your mind just gets into this certain idea, this certain place where it's just you are just locked into the zone, and the adrenaline's pumping to the point where any sort of strain on your vocal cords, like it seems a lot less just because of how much adrenaline is pumping through your body at that time.
Oh, for sure. Your adrenaline takes over tenfold. I mean, like, I'd still be like really cautious when I'm coming up to bits where it's got to be good, or it's just gonna collapse. It's just not gonna hit how you want it to. So you'd be more cautious when your voice isn't like 100%. But adrenaline plays a massive part in forcing it out and getting to where you want to be. Because you're just angry, aren't you? Your adrenaline makes you buzzing.
Fruben out a low boy.
Yeah, for sure.
But one thing I want to ask that Lucas brought up was, like, you said with your first show back, it was like everything that felt like it could go wrong went wrong from your standpoint. But honestly, from the fan standpoint, I gotta say, like, they're probably end up looking at like things went wrong. You guys probably played freaking awesome, especially just I've seen bands have gone up on stage and I've talked to them afterward. They're like, oh, this went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong, this wrong. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I don't remember anything going wrong. I just remember having a good ass fucking time and just going absolutely crazy in this pit. And when the dirtiest breakdown I've heard all night hit, you hit it, and I ended up going flying 5 feet in the air because, hey, that sounded like fun, and I was the only one on the wall of death on my side. So everything else. So I got to ask, what all actually went wrong in that first show? Like, what went haywire to the point where you guys were like, oh shit, what the hell? Like, of course, first show back, and this happens.
I think the biggest thing is we'd switched to in-ear monitors, so we weren't using like speakers on stage to hear anything. So we're all playing with headphones in, but then like Al's guitar wasn't coming through, so you were having to like basically play without your in-ears in, just listening to kind of drums, weren't you? That was a bit of a nightmare.
I had one of my in-ears in so I could hear the click, and then I had one out so I could sort of hear Josh and what Ben was doing and everything, and yeah, it was just a bit of a nightmare for me. I mean, it was okay for you guys though, wasn't it? You just didn't have my
yeah. I mean,
agree.
I think
Yeah,
a good thing sometimes. To be fair,
it's so weird though. Like when from going to like relying on stage monitors to then having everything in your ears, it is so much more crisp and clear. So when you're so used to something and then all of a sudden it's not there, it makes it so weird, and then it throws you off a little bit more, even though it's kind of still the same. It's just like we had one guitar in our ears apart from two. Yeah, so you can just hear things more.
I think like, so it was a big learning curve for us, like getting those mixes right in our ears, like we couldn't hear the audience at all, so it was finding like a right balance of that. And I think we're a super critical band, so like we're not like, we'd never come off a show and be like, oh, you were shit or this was shit. It's always a case of we're always like our own worst critics. Like everyone will be like, dude, that was mint. Like, I don't know what you're worried about. But if like, I think we all have a certain threshold where if we hit below that threshold, it's going to bug us out and we'll be like, fuck, like that needs sorting. You know what I mean? And for us, I think that show was just, there was a lot of little things that, because we could hear everything all of a sudden so perfectly, like, right, okay, so we really need to step a game up. Like we'd been playing in a practice room, like we were practicing, we were doing like, we were recording the album, we were writing the album, we were rehearsing the album all the way through COVID. Like we were still, it was our work bubble. It's us four. That was the only people we saw through, the entire like 2 years. But playing in a room when you stood 100% still in a controlled environment is very, very different to when you're doing karate kicks and everything's completely different and you've got 10 minutes to set it up and hope that it works amazingly.
Yeah, and I do understand what you're saying, like being your own worst critic as well, because for you guys, what it sounds like is you have this certain level of quality that you want to put out at every single show and that you expect from yourselves, and that quality is going to be of the highest point that you possibly can. So even when you just potentially might even come under it in your own mind, even though it might have just been some of the best work you've ever done, but in your mind, like, you just pick out that one little piece, it's going to end up just kind of getting in you, eating away at your brain. It's like, man, I wish I could have done this better, and I kind of messed up on this. But all of a sudden, it's you look and you go talk to the crowd at the end of the show, and they're just all just super hyped up, super jazzed up for the fact that they had one hell of a time. And the point that you might have made where you thought, man, I could have done better on that, and that's really kind of getting at you, there's probably like 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 people in the crowd that's the part that they're going to remember as their favorite part of the whole entire show, because that's what they thought was the best.
100%, man. I think that we had that kind of like realization afterwards, because I think someone posted a video of like one of the songs that we just released the song called Dope. It was the first time we played that song, and it was the first time we played that ending, and obviously it's a huge big vocal kind of like all the lows that set up this huge demolishing breakdown. And we saw this video back, and I think we were all like, every time we see something good, it gets sent around our group chats, and we were just there like, absolutely, when something's so good you just have to laugh. We were just pissing ourselves like, okay, right, so maybe it wasn't like what we thought it was. And yeah, I think we know to kind of do that. So whenever we finish a show, as soon as we're like back in the van and we're traveling to, wherever we're going, we're the first people looking at Instagram stories, like listening back and being like, it's that, you kind of check yourself through that, you see it and you go, oh shit, that was fucking mint. We get to enjoy it from an audience perspective, which is always kind of like really nice for us. So yeah, tag us in your fucking Instagram things because we love them, we watch them, and yeah, we get well gassed and drink loads of beers to them after the show.
Well, I'm going to have to remember that whenever I get to see you guys play for the first time, is because I used to always take like concert videos and post them on Instagram, post them on Twitter, everywhere I could, just because like I wouldn't take long ones. It'd be like just quick little snippets of like stuff that I liked. But now I rarely ever take videos because, well, stuff goes hard. The pit opens up and my mind just like, yeah. And I'm just there. Like I went to a music festival in September, and it's like I got a good amount of video, but I could have gotten so much more video. Problem is for the 30 bands that I saw, 27 out of the 30 bands had pits going, and I just couldn't resist. So I'm like, thinking about, after listening to the brand new album, after listening to all the songs, I'm just thinking. Even when I listen to Gold Blood too, I'm just like, there is no way in hell that I would probably end up having a chance to take a video because I'd be so locked in the music. It's so locked in and just being in the pit where all of a sudden there's going to be some guy just go flying like crazy and all of a sudden be like, okay, is that guy okay? Oh, wait, no, we know that guy. It's Kevin. He's fine. No biggie. Keep going. There's me on the ground. We're good.
Just a fucking arm sticking out the pit like, yeah, no, I totally feel that. I think like, I think it's quite nice. Well, I mean, obviously we love seeing the videos and stuff, but I think it's quite nice that we've I feel like a lot of stuff's moved on past the need to, when social media was like really kicking off and becoming a thing, everyone was like watching shows through their phones, whereas now it's not so much a thing. So it's really quite nice because it's like back to people being a bit more engaging with you. And I definitely, when I go to shows, I try and make a mental note to be in the moment. Don't sit there and try and. Yeah, because at the end of the day, on your phone, you're capturing it for later, aren't you? But realistically, most of the time, you don't look back at it, and you miss out on that, connecting moment where you can really just bond with it. So basically, I'm just being really, really contradicting what I've just said. So I'm like, yeah, video us, and I'm also like, yeah, don't video us.
Well, it's not necessarily videos, no videos. It's kind of like live in the moment, but also live in the moment that you want to live in the moment, the way you want to do it. Because I'm kind of seeing what you're seeing, Lucas, because ever since, concerts and touring came back in 2021 from the pandemic, and then during the pandemic, like before shows came back from March 2020 till shows came back, it was anytime you want to get a chance to see your favorite band play live, or a band you like to play live, it would have to be on a live stream setting. And don't get me wrong, during that time, there were some live streams I thought were really cool and really well done, but it just wasn't the same as actually being there. The energy wasn't there. It was cool being able to watch, the Motionless in White one, or for me, the Falling in Reverse one as well, just seeing all the cool like effects they put in there. But it just wasn't the same as actually being there in the crowd, feeling the energy and just going absolutely crazy around so many other people. So then all of a sudden when live shows came back, I was still seeing people, recording stuff and, had their phones up, because everyone's still going to do that. But like you said, the amount of people doing that has been a lot less. And I think people are getting more of that idea of, we were without music and live music for that long. We do not want to miss out again. Sure. We do not want to take it for granted. And right now, because we got it back, let's not take it for granted. Let's focus solely in on what's going on stage. Let's focus in on solely what's going on in the crowd and enjoy ourselves to the most, because hell, we remember what it was like when we didn't have this. So let's go all out now that we have it again.
Literally,
massively. It's like to go into a concert for the first time again, isn't it? Like the first show we went to after the pandemic, so we saw Architects in like a 1,000 cap venue in the UK, and I haven't done 1,000 cap venues in, I don't know, fuck me, probably at least like 7 or 8 years, and that was insane. Like hearing that first, because there was no support either, so the very first bit of live music we heard was Architects, and it was just like that first sub drop goes, and you're just like, holy shit. It was I
was buzzing to hear a sub drop.
It's a pretty special moment.
Yeah, literally, it's what you need. It just rattles through you, and you're like, yeah, that's kicks you off, doesn't it?
And I'm pretty sure, like, when you guys went on tour in December as well, you guys gave a lot of fans that exact same feel, because a lot of people probably coming to your shows, that might have been their first shows coming back. Because I still remember going to see shows all of 2021. Every band would always ask, whose first show is this back? And after all, I'm like, do they still have to ask this? Just because I've been to so many, I'm just like, I can't really raise my hand at all for this, because I've been to like 30 at this point. But
yeah, I bet you still did though, didn't you?
I was pretty much getting ready and set to go for the next song, because if it was going to go heavy, I was ready, and I was basically ready to start laying my shoulder on people. And if I knock someone down, pick them right back up.
Yeah, man.
You're there tying your shoelaces, getting ready to fucking destroy.
No, my shoelaces had already been tied before the show because I have dealt with that before. That's one of my little like remembrance rules when it comes to the pit is always tie your shoes tight because I have lost my shoes in the pit before and not the best. Thank you, Under Oath, for that one.
You need to get like a big slogan to like smash up on the screen with it, like always tie your shoelaces. Little soundbite of it.
Just a big giant banner that's always like, I just have like a list of rules. It was like 1, if someone falls down, pick him back up. 2, always tie your shoelaces. 3, if you wear a hat, make sure it's a tight hat, otherwise it's gonna fall off. 4, if you have stuff in your pockets, make sure those pockets are either tight or deep. One of the two.
Toy. You should definitely get this as merch, man. I'm into it. Pit rules, like let's go.
I'll just have on my own t-shirt, Kevin's Pit Rules. Of course, the first one is if someone falls down, you pick them back up. That's always rule number 1.
Oh, for sure, mate.
Absolutely, mate.
But then going back to you guys, playing live shows, playing throughout December. What was that like finally being able to like go on a longer run instead of just playing those first couple of shows during like festival runs?
Go on, Al, mate.
What was it like going on the run?
Oh, I thought it was just because Ben was grabbing a dog, and now I'm seeing a dog, and I can't take my eyes off a dog.
Dude, she is jumping up at my legs like no tomorrow. This is Frankie. She's going now. She wants to get off already.
Well, Frankie just wanted to see who's there. Just wanted the moment of glory. It's like, all right, I want my like 15 seconds of glory. Okay, now I'm out. But not gonna lie, anybody watching a podcast, they see a dog or a cat randomly show up out of nowhere, they're staying. But back to like the initial question I asked, like around the shows you guys had played in December, your first full run since the pandemic, and not just those couple of festival shows. What was it like finally being able to get back out and tour on more of a consistent schedule than just a festival date here and there?
To be honest, I thought it was super easy. I was actually a bit nervous for it, but I thought it was super easy, and I think that's a lot to do with the team that we had out with us. So we had one of our mates called Johnny, who used to be in a band called The Family Ruin, who toured the US a few times. You might have heard of him.
I have heard of him.
Yeah, really good guy. So he was the vocalist in that band. So he was driving us and doing merch and just general helping out, and he's such a great guy. And he made life so much easier for all of us.
It was simple, wasn't it? Like we fell straight back into it, but I think like we've toured enough now to like get into good habits of touring. So we were just fucking in the gym every day, and we were like straight to the shows. And like, to be fair, it's the first headline tour that we've done since like, I think I was like, obviously we're kind of on the third record now, or coming into the third record. It was the first headline tour we've done since the first album. So it was quite nice for us to be the headliner, because when you're the headliner, get the best rider, you have the most time. You get there, you set up, and you're the first to sound check, so you can kind of get your shit done and make sure you're all locked in. I think, we had it quite easy because we were the headliner. We had a lot of time, whereas like I think if we were probably doing like a support run, it would have been a bit more pressing because you got a lot less time and a lot of like quicker changeovers, and it's not really your deal type of thing. But it was fucking mint to be back on the road, like just hanging out with your best mates. Like it's just sick. There's no better feeling, is there? Like end of the day, you wake up in the morning and all you've got to do is play an awesome show. What's there to not love?
Honestly, if someone found something not to love in there, I'd probably look at them and say, man, you're fucking crazy.
I mean, to be fair, you do need to smell our van at like 6 a.m. and there's probably something to not love there. But other than that, the rest of it's pretty great.
Oh, as long as your van hasn't had some sort of like toilet backup, or you guys didn't knock out a whole entire electrical grid in Yugoslavia, I think you're doing all right.
So far none of that's happened, so we're doing all right then.
You're definitely doing all right. So I gotta also ask, when it comes to just like this, like the tour you guys were on, this headline tour, what was like the best moment from the whole entire tour? Mostly because I love story time, so I love hearing some crazy stories or some amazing stories that you guys have.
I think just for me, like being back, it's cool things happen, hilarious things happen, but I don't know what other bands do, but our priority is that we surround ourselves with people that we we know are similar to us, so that they were always like having a good time. You've got to surround yourself with people that are on like a similar mindset, or somebody that's gonna bring, I don't know, not I don't know, like a positive mindset. Because when you're so far away from home and you're sleeping in a van, and things can get dark quite quickly, but if you've got the people around you that are going to help you,
just keep laughing in it. They're always laughing.
That's what's important for us, and that's why I think we have such a good time, because everybody that we tour with in our team is either a friend or somebody that we know through friends. So it's always hilarious. Like there's something always. It's just mint. I can't put it into words. It's really hard to put it into words, because we just have a really, really good time. Even though if people were looking at it from like a different perspective, they'd think, well, that's shit. How do they do that for so long? But it's because they're not in the bubble. They don't know what we're like as like our personalities or our team's personalities. It's just mint. We always have a really, really good time.
It's just belly laughs in it for days, mate. But it's hard to pinpoint. Like, I don't think there's no like particularly wild or like weird stories on this one. I think, we were suitably just kind of very, very chilled. Just a lot of time in the gym, a lot of time staying in. We did quite a few like nights in. So in the UK they have like travel lodges where they're like basically like motorway type, just like one stop. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like we were was just like sneaking extra people into those rooms and trying to like fucking, make sure we get some showers and stuff so we don't smell like booty all. But I think the start of the tour was always really wicked. Like as we went through the tour, like the COVID, hype rating was getting more and more. So like it was getting super intense. And the band that we had out supporting us, Ghost Iris, that they'd just been on tour with our pals in Skywalker in Europe for a month. They managed to duck and dive COVID the entire time. And they come over to the UK. They had to isolate and like hang out in France for like 4 days so they could finish this tour and then come over to the UK and like tour with us. I think they got 5 days into the tour and the singer got COVID. So they had to like
less than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was less than that. It was about 3 shows, I think.
Yeah.
Fucking brutal.
Such a shame, because like watching them every day they are a really good band.
Unbelievable,
like, really good band.
Really good.
It's amazing that he had COVID. Well, he probably had it by the time he tested positive. He must have had it for like a day. Had COVID and still performing just fucking unbelievably. Considering it's your fucking chest thing. But so they had to ultimately drop out the tour because then they had to like isolate. But that kind of increased the stress levels. We were all having to test every morning, and we like fuck me. To be fair, there's actually some of my favorite moments of those COVID tests on the morning. Every morning we all have to wake up and do the test before we do anything. It's all pile into the back of the van, and I don't know if it's the same in the US, but some that you have where you have to do it in your throat and then up your nose, it's like test. And we're all there. Honestly, if anybody heard what went on in the back of the van, it was just everyone gagging and gipping. It was honestly the most disgusting thing.
Chris and Josh, that was the funny. I even filmed it, and everybody is just howling because even just thinking about it now, Chris and Josh make the weirdest noises doing a COVID lateral flow test. It's insane. The noises that come out of them, it's like people are standing on frogs.
Yeah, so you sit there for like, I don't know, it was like half an hour of anxiety in the morning whilst we're all deep throating fucking plastic wands, trying not to be fucking sick. Basically all just like filming each other, hoping that someone's actually going to throw up. Like, everyone gipping their asses off. And then as soon as you get that negative test, we're walking around high and mighty like we're fucking untouchable. Like you want to like walking past people in the street, you just want to go, oh, by the way, mate, negative.
Tested negative. It's fine. Got this. What about you? Yeah. Oh, you didn't test? Well, guess what? I know, because I had to deep throat this freaking thing and then stick it in my nose, but it came back negative. So what of it?
Yeah, if you test, mate, I would have heard you gipping, and I didn't hear you gipping, so you haven't fucking done shit.
I'll say
it was fucking wicked.
The tests that we have in the US here are definitely not like that. You do have to do up the nose, but you don't have to do the back of the throat thing, so you don't have to like deep throat it. However, this was early during the pandemic, like May of 2020, and I had to actually go to the hospital because I wasn't feeling very well. I ended up having to get an emergency appendectomy because my appendix was about to explode. But
Holy shit.
they were doing the COVID test, and it's like, okay, they stuck it up one nostril, and they went so far in, because this was the early test, so like they went so far, I'm like, what the hell? I thought it touched my brain. They pulled out, went up the other one, went up the other one, and they tried pulling it out, and it wouldn't budge at the first go. So all of a sudden, they're trying to pull on it, and I swear, if someone would have been in that hospital recording me, I probably would have been the inspiration for the pig scream vocals, but that Will Ramos did for To the Hellfire for Lauren Shore. I probably would have the inspiration for that, because it was like that. I was just going ape crazy trying to get this thing out of there.
Holy
Amazing.
shit.
That's brilliant. I love that.
It's pretty invasive, isn't it? Like, holy fuck, Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't want to fucking bang your head, would you, whilst you got one in there? Otherwise, you'd be seeing fucking triple for the rest of your life. Jesus.
Yeah, and then can you imagine going to a show and all of a sudden you're seeing the strobe lights and you're already seeing triple? You're gonna be so disoriented. I'm gonna just walk straight in the middle of the pit, not know where the hell I am, and get obliterated from like one side by some 255-pound guy named Tank, and it's gonna end up being like a YouTube viral clip or a TikTok viral thing. Like, watch this dude, and all of a sudden that's the moment he knew he fucked up, and then just see me go flying all over the place, not knowing what the hell happened to me, and it's all because some stupid COVID test is making me see triple now.
Fuck, man. Jesus.
Love
yeah,
it.
nah, fucking brutal things. But other than that, it was wicked. Like, I think the first show we played was like a hometown show as well. So like that was a super busy show. Like it's just like first time we played a headline hometown show since we released the last record as well. So that was like February 2019. Like walking out, to the new intro to Gold Blooded and being like, holy fuck, like that was a really nice moment. You know what I mean? For the first night on tour as a hometown show, I think it set the standard pretty high, and it's always nice. It's always nice that kind of like, well, hometown shows are just the one, aren't they? They're always fucking great. But yeah, it was a good moment.
Yeah, because it's hometown shows, you get just this extra bit of energy because of how many people you're going to know they're going to be there. Plus, also, if it's a hometown show, the venue that you're playing at, you guys likely had seen many different shows at that venue before. So there's just this added bit of extra specialness that just comes to playing those shows.
Oh, for sure.
And it just increases the energy a little bit, increases the adrenaline a little bit, just increases the passion behind it a little bit because of how much emotional connection you have to the town, the people that are going to be there, the place that you're performing at, just everything in there. So there are probably, I've been thinking about this. There are probably some crazy mosh pits you guys got going there that right now in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm fucking jealous. I want to be in one of those.
You will one day, mate. Not too long, hopefully.
You will. Yeah, top
It's
of our
gonna
list of
happen,
things to do is definitely to get over to the US. Like, the crazy thing is, like, obviously there's all like the visa costs, which are insane, and you can get straight up just rejected for the visa even after you've paid for it anyway, and you often don't find out until like right before you go. And then there's all the standard touring expenses on top of that. So for us to come to the US, we need the right offer. So for the right offer to be there, so it's kind of like it's just a bit of a waiting game. But I think I'm definitely hoping that this album's kind of getting us a lot more kind of attention in the US, which is wicked, because the more attention we get, the more people are going to fight for us to go over there. And when the demand's too high to ignore, there's no fucking choice. I'm into that.
Yeah, just make the consumers want you, and basically like, yeah, we can't ignore the fact that InVision's going to come over to us. We can't ignore that because of how much demand there is. And I'm already seeing some bands from the UK as well there. It's like, they were just on the rise of it. All of a sudden they released an album and the demand got so high from all of a sudden. It's like, okay, now they have to come over to the US. A couple of my know are coming over to the US in like March and April, and I'm super excited to be able to actually see them live and meet them, be like, hey guys, hello, how are you? Just have a good time like that. But it's just being able to see that rise happen, and then also see the bands they're going to be touring with, the kind of tour packages they got going together, and seeing how well that's going to work. So for you guys, I can totally understand where you're coming from with the expenses and the possibility with visas as well. You got to make sure that you get the right package. However, after listening to Deadlock, because I was able to listen to them only for like a whole maybe 4 or 6 hours before we actually shot this, so I wasn't able to go as deep dive as I normally do. I was listening, I'm just thinking, I'm already trying to think about like what bands would be like the bands that would be the perfect ones to like have you guys come bring you guys in support for like a US run. And the one that just popped in my head right now is if you guys had a chance to open for like a US long run for the Ghost Inside.
That would be fucking mint.
I wouldn't say no to that.
That would be so good. Yeah, that would be awesome.
If you guys,
That's not a pairing that I would have like first gone to as well, which is really really cool. Like
Yeah,
I
that's the
fucking love
first
the
time
Ghost
I've heard
Inside.
that. Like, say, like we sound something like Ghost Inside. I mean, I'm not going to complain about it. Ghost Inside is sick. But yeah, it's the first
Yeah.
time I've heard that comparison.
well, before I go into why I made that comparison, I got to ask you guys, what were the like board bands would be like if they were to ask you to tour the U.S. with them? What bands would you be thinking of for that type of pairing where you would be like, we have to take this. We're taking this no matter what.
I think we associate to US bands more than we do UK. To be honest, I feel like in the UK there's definitely a bit of a different kind of scene going on, which is a bit more like abstract and stuff. But I feel like our particular genre of like the metalcore kind of thing that we tap into, I feel like it's bang on the US market. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the bands we familiarize with are way more US related. Like I would fucking love to go on tour with Ice Nine Kills. That would be awesome. Wage War would be another one. That'd be Wage War would, I think, I reckon if we did one tour with Wage War, that'd be a fucking great place for us to start off. Well, start off.
Amir?
Amir, yeah, that
Amir.
would also be fucking mint. I love Amir.
Well,
like every time I go see Amir, it's just hype.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When you said Wage War, because I know when January and February they're doing a run with Falling in Reverse, but after that, especially after the release of their latest album, I believe they will be doing a headline run somewhere in the U.S. I'm not sure if that's fully booked out yet, so might want to get on that.
We're there, we're
boys.
here. Look at us.
Or
I feel like there's the guys on like in movies on the beach where they're making signs out of sticks. That's us right now to Wage War.
Hey, but then once Deadlock drops, instead of just like those like sticks on the beach that you write out, help or like pick us kind of thing, it's gonna turn those sticks are just gonna be able turn to like full on bonfires, and all of a sudden you see these mass smoke. It's like, okay, what's going on there? We have to go check this out, and all of a sudden it's like, yep, InVisions, yep, we gotta bring them on. And the reason why I brought up the Ghost Inside as well, especially after listening to Deadlock, just the heaviness, just this upfrontness, and just the energy that was driven behind it. It reminded me a lot of the energy from the Ghost Inside self-titled album, which was, especially lyrically, incredibly deep, going after the whole entire topics of the bus crash and the recovery from that. It's just the heavy, the energy and the rawness that came from that, especially after listening to Deadlock. A lot of that came through, so that's why I was making that comparison to see if you guys would open up for the Ghost Inside. A lot of people that are super into the Ghost Inside would just, if they didn't know who InVisions was, they would check it out and just think, my fucking God, I need to go through this whole band's discography and go nuts. But if you guys end up staying in Europe and all of a sudden Ice Nine Kills comes over to Europe, second half of 2022, and they're looking for an opener, and all of a sudden you guys come in, yeah, bring that heaviness, bring that just insanity that you guys have, and all of a sudden Ice Nine Kills comes on right afterwards. Yeah, you're leaning into them, and you're leaning in with high energy, and they're gonna be able to match it and even take it to a different crazy level because of all the horror stuff behind it. So it'd be another great pairing for you guys.
Oh, for sure, man. I think like particularly with the new record, it's I think it's not necessarily as like probably as critically just heavy as like the previous album, but it's definitely just a lot more like each song's a bit more, like you say, it's a bit deeper and it has a bit more meaning to it, and they're kind of just trying to write a bit more anthemic songs that kind of like you'll take something away from it and it'll kind of have an impression on you, as opposed to with like a lot of heavy music, it can be like short shelf life. You'll listen to it twice and you're like, yeah, that was sick, but then it's on to the next one. And I think particularly with a lot of like super heavy songs, that happens a lot in like the metalcore and like deathcore world.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that Ghost Inside would definitely be, because they, like you said, they have the same thing. They're really, really heavy and it's pure aggression, but there's something that's like there's something that it leaves a lasting impression. You take a message away from it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, because we were like 2 years removed from the release of that the lead single off it, which was Aftermath. And I still remember like watching the video the day it released, and I mean, I didn't really know that much of the Ghost Side up to that point, but just watching it was like it's still connected with me, and it's still something that I listen to today continuously at times because it's such a good song. I'm like, I can't help but not listen, but it goes freaking heavy. There's a lot of other layers to it emotionally as well. And again, when I was listening to Deadlock, it was something where I was listening like, it's still freaking heavy. It's still there, but there are these certain layers that are behind, and these certain layers in some of these songs as well, where like with Ben's vocal, all of a sudden, like sometimes they go heavy, raw, that visceral sound, and all of a sudden now you're going with more of a cleaner sound, but it's still rough and gritty. However, you're still being able to like make that differentiation for me as a listener, so it gives the songs a lot more of this like kind of like a shelf life, a lot more to really grab onto and latch onto than if it was just like I like it because of how heavy it goes. Because over time, that does tend to lose out a little bit to, well, you know, stuff that's coming newer because, ooh, flashy new shiny stuff, I like. But if there's something for me to really like latch onto and hang on to, those are the songs that, you know, come 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, I still listen to them, I still latch on, and I still connect to them in a very similar way, if not the same way than I did when I first heard it.
Yeah, and like as you grow as well, you listen back to a song that maybe meant something to you, you know, 5 years ago, and you listen to it 5 years later, it still means that to you, but also you can, you know, take something new away from it because you've grown as a person. I think that's really cool. Like, you know, we always go back to, you know, classic, you know, Kill Switch, Trivium, and Bullet albums, and like those albums aren't necessarily heavy in comparison to modern day music, but they have that lasting impression. Like, obviously, they shaped us as musicians, and like, I think that's kind of where we were, the way we were kind of coming in at it this time around, which is, I guess pretty cool. Trying to leave a motherfucking legacy. That's what I'm saying.
Legacy with layers. Yeah,
layers. We've got layers.
Like an ogre and an onion. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. InVisions has layers. You get it? They all have layers.
That needs to be a meme. You need to prep that meme for release day. InVisions Deadlock, it's got layers.
Alrighty, you know what? Before I forget that, let me go on this little Microsoft Word document I have for my preview sheet. Let's see. I got to type this down. InVisions layers meme. In parentheses for release day. Because if you guys don't make it, I'm making it.
Yes.
One or the other. Well, honestly, one thing when I was listening to the album, one thing I kept thinking to myself was, I wonder if there's going to be a point, or if there's going to be, or when there's going to be a point of, if there's going to be something that's just going to end up having me just like latch onto this album. And as I was listening through, I'm like, I'm listening for it, but right now that's not really hitting me. All of a sudden I got to the end. And I got to that song, it's like kind of like more of an interlude thing called Inertia. It's got like about a minute 40 seconds long. And I was listening, I'm like, this definitely has a little bit of a different feel than what the rest of the album had. And then you went to the final song, Fall With Me, and then putting those two together to end the album out, I'm like, if I'm looking for a hook on the album, I'm looking for the thing that just connects me to it. That was it. And I was just like, I found it. And I mean, I'm just stuck on it. So if that was the thing that really got to me, were the last two songs, especially how they were put together. So, and not only that, but it wouldn't have hit as hard had I not listened to the whole album all the way through up until that point. So even putting it at the end of the album on the run through, whew, what a good move, at least in my opinion.
Go on, Ben, mate. This is your moment.
That is like, I'm so glad you said that, because I've been chewing the boys' ears off about that. Like, them two, like Inertia and Fall With Me, are my two favorite things on the album. Like, I listen to like Inertia at least 4 or 5 times before I actually go into Fall With Me. But for me, it's just got everything, and I love it. I just love it more than anything. It's just one of them, innit? Like one of those, because everybody will have a song with like how they connect with it differently and whatever. But them ones are just pinnacle for me.
But you haven't even got into the song, and you've already connected with this interlude, which is, you know, as a preview of what you're about to get. And you know, when you're already that hooked on it, it's pretty crazy, innit? So when you get that payoff of the actual, you know, the hook in Fall With Me, I think it just hits different. You know, it sets the tone, and you go, this is important, and you need to pay attention. And I think it lands.
No, absolutely. Because as I kind of look at, just like, I normally will write up like a whole bunch of like notes that I have on this stuff, but because I didn't have as much time to do it, I was going to go through Inertia and Fall With Me a little bit, because I'm like, that's the songs that just absolutely hit me. Because when it came to Inertia, I mean, again, it's not all that long. It's about 1 minute and 40 seconds. But just listening to it, it takes more of this, and what I kind of thought of it like a cosmic depth, with the slightly soft produced sound to take you into this great new closing mindset after the first 9 songs on the album. And plus, there's a little bit of a piano in there and this drawn back clean vocals in the mix to really bring this like transitional note to full force from what you had just gone through in the first 9 songs going into the last one. And it really feels like we are hitting on this like some sort of emotional realization and power after going through the entire album and really be able to fully sum up the layers and the density of the first 9 songs as we go into the last one. Like, it just opens up your mindset forward. So you are completely ready to close this album out on a proper note and really close out the experience on an probably incredible note. And probably because there's not many bands that can pull it off, but fucking A, you guys did.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
that, mate.
I think I'm glad that you know that's you know how you've received it, because that's exactly the same way we feel. I think that this is the first time we've actually really kind of captured a journey on a record where, you know, I would strongly recommend anybody listening to the album, listen to it in order. Don't skip any songs, even if you know you've heard the singles. Please listen to start to finish, and just like, you know, when you get there, you're ready for that moment. And it kind of, it is, you know, it's a really deep and it's a really heavy song, and it kind of looks like, you know, dealing with loss and like, you know, supporting people who are, you know, going through situations like that. And, you know, they're really like, it can come across as being selfish sometimes, and how you can kind of like, you know, support people like that and trying to find some kind of light in the darkness, but ultimately, you know, you really can't. And I think the amazing, you know, it was one of those kind of quite cool moments where the very last lyric of the record is literally the word ending, you know, and that was it, as soon as that happened, we knew it had to be the last song. It all just kind of made sense. But it's quite a bleak ending, but it leaves that kind of taste on your tongue where you're like, oh fuck, you know, I need to go back. And you know, like when you watch a movie and it has a twist at the end, and then you're like, oh, I need to rewatch that film because I kind of get it now. I feel like it's kind of does that, and that's yeah, it's amazing that you picked up on that. That's fucking awesome. It's filling me with hope for the record, mate.
Well, one thing I remember, like when it comes to especially heavy music, like metalcore, deathcore, especially around that stuff, one person I always like to look to see kind of what their opinion is on Twitter, Mr. Alan Harrington, because just how much just new music he's bringing to people, how much he talks about, and it's just consistency behind it. And I was even thinking about, like, okay, what's he going to potentially say about this InVisions record? From my mindset, I'm thinking he's going to love the first 9 songs because they go heavy, hard. They're kind of a little bit more in your face and brash, but there's so many layers to them. But it's just when you get to Inertia and Fall With Me, all of a sudden it takes you in a completely different direction while not really deviating from the norm, from what the album had already set up, but it just ends it so beautifully to the point where, hell, like you said, you want to go back and listen to it again and potentially find out more than you even missed because of how many layers there are there. And the ending of Fall With Me just opens that possibility up so well. And like you said, it's like watching a movie where you find out the twist ending at the end, but then you want to go back and watch the movie again to see where you can pick up on how the twist ending actually plays in if you know about what it is. It gives the movie 2 completely different experiences, and even more than 2 different experiences as you go on. And with your album, with this, you know, with Fall With Me at the end of it too, holy crap, it's going to take this album and just turn it into something where every time you go through it, you could be going through it like the next day, right after your first listen through, a week later, a month later, a year later, and you could be having such a completely different experience on it based on your experiences in life, but also how the record ends and just puts you in a completely different mindset than you did going into it. Hell, than you were through those first 9 tracks. It just ended on such an incredible note that, I mean, this is going to bring up the Ghost Inside as well. On their self-titled album, going through the whole entire story of them from the bus crash to getting back up on stage for the first time, they detail that in every aspect of, like, from the songs, from top to bottom, from the beginning to the end of the track list, except for the last one, which was Aftermath, which was just the culmination of it all and closing out and really just reflecting on that experience and really seeing how far they had come. This has a very similar emotional impact to really reset your mind and think, wow, what did I just go through? What did I just realize about myself? And what did I just feel, to the point where I want to go back at it again and see what else I can find out because of how many layers this album truly has to it.
That's amazing, man. Thank you.
So good, like hearing somebody talk about it like that, because we've been sat on it for like so long. And then to hear like a different perspective and it come out with something similar to what we say about it, it means that the job here is done.
Yeah, that's super refreshing. Like, I mean, this is probably the first kind of communication we've had with anybody outside of like, our kind of team or people working on the record who've actually kind of given their thoughts and opinion on it, and it's really fucking cool. So yeah, thank you for being our first.
Oh well, you're very welcome, and I will actually make a T-shirt about that, like I was the first, and all of a sudden just in fine print, the first person that was not closely associated with InVisions to really give my thoughts on Deadlock and how it ended perfectly, and just like in the smallest little print, so it's like I was the first. Like, what were the first stuff? Read the fine print right there. It's right there. Well, this one just says right now in white, but that's not fine print. That just looks good.
I love that.
No, that's amazing. Like, yeah, I'm really, really glad of that. I think, Al's the architect behind those two songs. That was they were your, little brainchilds, weren't they? And I think, when you kind of showed us Inertia as well, I remember saying to us that I never thought we'd have a song like that. It's not an acoustic song or anything like that, but it's like the closest I guess we've kind of come to that.
Yeah, it was meant to be sort of. We've done it before. We did it on our first album with what's it called, Serenity, before Soul Seeker. Just basically just a little interlude to sort of put you in a false sense of security. So you like, it's kind of dreamy and spacey, isn't it? And then all of a sudden you hit with these ridiculously low chords and go into a stupidly heavy song. That's basically all of the thinking behind it.
Yeah, maximum space. Situation in space.
Yeah, and even like with Inertia too, it opens up and just kind of gives you that feeling. And then I gotta bring this up with Fall With Me, because I'm looking at the little notes that I have, and I'm like, the best part of the whole entire song comes in when all of a sudden the bridge comes in, and then the breakdown and the outro are gonna come. I'm like, I'm just waiting for this moment. And when the bridge, you guys brought in some like these softer guitars and a little bit of this like electronic overlay, kind of similar to what Inertia had, like a lighter electronic overlay. And it sounded like there were some violins attached to create this softer, calming, understanding feel towards the song. And even the vocals from Ben, clean and heavy also in the background as well. So I'm like, okay, we're building up to this. And one thing I've been seeing a lot from certain bands, like especially as you're kind of like outroing an album or outroing a song and like kind of leading this, it's just like if you're going to kind of build this, the breakdown kind of like if you're going to break it, it's not going to be as heavy. I was like, please. The way this needs to, I need something heavy. Like it's just going to perfectly hit it. And all of a sudden, it had me excited and nervous because I didn't want to go out with a whimper, but then you turn into a breakdown that with these melodic bursts with one guitar and kind of like this Architects-inspired highness riffing over the entire thing to create this more impactful, full feeling and latching on to a song that will make you not want to miss out on this album. The end is 100% worth the wait on this album. And if you go through it from top to bottom and listen to the whole entire track list, trust me, when you get to the end of it, when you get to Fall With Me and you get to that bridge and breakdown to the outro, it is one of the things in music that is the most worth it that I have ever heard. It's just, like I said, I was waiting for that one moment to really latch onto something on this album. And as it kept coming to a close, I'm like, where's that latch on? Inertia hits. I'm like, okay, I feel like it's coming. And then all of a sudden, here comes Fall With Me. And it's got that latch on moment. But then all of a sudden, that bridge, the breakdown hit. It's not the latch on moment. It's the grab and hold on for dear life because you do not want to let this moment go moment.
Yeah, hearing you like the way you're talking about it is really refreshing. It's so good to hear somebody else just put it into them kind of words. It's really refreshing. Thanks, man. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I feel like we get the same moment. As soon as that breakdown hits, you feel like you just like died and elevated to another level. It just takes you, doesn't it? Like it's a lot of like, it's quite an instrumental breakdown for a while, and then obviously the vocals come back in. Even with the instrumental part of you, like, wow, this is like so emotive, but it's so heavy. And then the vocals come in, and you're just like, fuck. You just breaks you down. You're just like, where the fuck do you go from here? Which is super cool.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the best places to go from there is to listen to the album all over again and have that same experience with a completely new mindset and maybe understand even more about what the album's talking about, understand more about what you're going through, and understand more about how the album is connecting with you in multiple different aspects of life and not just the one that you thought it was going to connect with. Because again, the layers, the meanings, the messages behind these songs, the lyrics, the impact that they have, especially with some rougher cleans and some of those deep, heavy, unclean vocals, along with the heaviness that this album has, and then coming into this just like ending that just ends it on such a completely different, refreshing, but also totally understood note compared to like, okay, this makes total sense, but it doesn't make sense. Like it just, unhugged feeling, except it's just 100% worth the wait. It really is. So that's why I was so glad when I went through. I'm like, I'm waiting for that moment, and it hit right at the end. I'm just like,
Oh, I wish I could have seen that, like, the live and in action. But yeah, that's amazing.
I think I
Totally,
did the reenactment all right. Just
punching the ceiling. I got what you said, like, same. I think, through the entire album, like you said about, the kind of cleans being a bit more like pushed as well. That was like something that, when we kind of like sat down to figure out what was going on with vocals, that was definitely like a big move on it to make. I think we kind of realized it with Gold Blooded when there was like those kind of like a bit more pushed cleans, but just a lot of the verses and a lot of our songs are generally quite heavy. The screams are, balls to the walls, and we wanted to make sure that the cleans match that. Because it's not necessarily because of what other people say online, but I think the biggest turn off for metalcore is when you get to a chorus, it's been super intense, you get to a chorus and then it's just like, it doesn't need to be there, it doesn't add anything, do you know what I mean? And so having those like pushed cleans kind of made the intensity of the choruses match, and I think that's, going back to Follow Me, that's really kind of how it helped sell that as well. And just, you feel it, you can hear it in Ben's voice. It's, there's pain there, and that's kind of something that we've not really kind of touched on so much before. And I think that, good job, Ben. Smashed it.
Yes, good job, Ben. But that does bring up a good point, because with a lot of metalcore vocalists, you're going to get those heavy uncleans, like, in the verses and the bridge breakdown. But in the choruses, a lot of time you get these softer cleans, and the contrast can really stand out. And that's what also one thing that makes a genre great, but one thing that does turn a lot of people off, just because of how massive that contrast is. And if you don't hit on that contrast as well as you probably could, there's going to be some issues there, because just to really make that continuity feel right in the song. But when you kind of force and push those clean vocals to have a little bit of a rougher sound to them, you're sacrificing some of that contrast that can really make both parts stand out. But you're also working closer on a comparison note that can potentially make the song flow a lot cleaner, a lot in between verses, pre-chorus, chorus, just really work together with the vocals. And then I know sometimes you do bring in some of those like softer cleans as well, which do work out when they are brought in because of how they're brought in. It's just really taking a look at how this album and how these songs are going to all work within each other on an album and then within themselves, and see how these vocals are all going to play out to the point where when it came vocally, nothing ever felt out of place. Any song or anything on this album, nothing really felt out of place. And then I guess gotta keep saying it, the ending, man. Oh my God.
I'm so glad somebody else is as hyped as Fall With Me as I am. It's so good.
I've got a feeling that when the album actually drops, that's going to be the thing that people are going to be like latching onto. It's like, okay, they're going to go through and all of a sudden Fall With Me hits, and they go through the whole entire thing. It's like, okay, this is going to be it. On Twitter, Alan Harrington's going to probably have himself just some absolute insane tweet like, okay, this is what I thought of InVisions with Deadlock. The album was really fucking good. And then it ended. And then I thought, you've got to be kidding me. How do you end something this deep like that and expect me not to want even more?
Oh man, that's fucking sick.
Help.
Yeah,
honestly, when this podcast comes out, I'm probably going to include him in the tweet for it too, and be like, hey, you're probably going to want to watch, because we kind of mentioned our prediction of what we think you're going to say about this album. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm keen to see. It's always shown a lot of love for this band, which is always massively appreciated. Like, end of the day, we're just a bunch of fucking Yorkshire boys from the UK, nobodies who just like playing music. So it's amazing when anybody's like, connects with our music the same way we do. We're just writing stuff that we want to play. It's taking everything from what we hear and being like, yo, what's our interpretation from this? So, thank you for the love and thank you for the support. It does mean the world.
Well, even think about this too. I mean, you guys you're still growing right now, but take a look at all the other bands that are like some of the biggest bands coming out of the UK, especially more in that, metalcore, metal, some post-hardcore kind of area. There's like with you guys, I mean, take a look. You've got Architects, you've got Bring Me the Horizon, you've got While She Sleeps. I'm only, mentioning a couple right here, but they were at that same point that you guys are now. And they're writing stuff that they want to write. They're putting their own style on it. They're really putting themselves into it. And look at how far they're going. I mean, Architects, one of the biggest metalcore bands out there, they're getting, normal radio play. They're breaking through in that arena. Bring Me the Horizon is literally all over the place because
they're the biggest rock band in the world right now. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
Nice.
while she sleeps, like, I mean, they went full on like independent, and look at what happened with that. All of a sudden, they released Sleep Society. It's like, jeez, can we get more
Yeah,
of
man.
that?
They've been fucking crushing it. Like the last couple of albums they've put out, of just like, I feel like they're really like, not that my opinion means shit, but like the last like 3 albums, they've just gone from being like a great band to like oh shit, these albums are really, really, and it's like consistent. Do you know what I mean? I feel like consistency is really difficult in the metalcore world because a lot of bands like will write a great album, then they'll fall off, and then like shit, they should probably write another good album again. And yeah, they've been crushing it. Well, all 3 of those bands have been crushing it consistently. Maybe that's the key. Maybe just don't write shit albums ever, and then you'll win.
Just write what you want to write and write it with passion, because there's a couple other bands like, well, you guys, especially after listening to Deadlock, a couple other bands have had in the podcast, like The City Is Ours. They released their album. I'm like, geez, just keep this fucking coming, guys. Post-hardcore band called Caskets, because they're from the UK as well. I had them on the
We know
podcast.
both those bands. Yeah.
I'm like, you've got to be
Both of those
kidding
bands,
me,
yeah.
guys. Like, this is fantastic. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, people are like, okay, you want to listen to more stuff like Caskets? Here, check out Holy Absence. I'm like, okay, I'll check this out. Oh my God, we got another one. So it's like,
Dude,
just,
yeah.
like the next crop of like great bands in the rock and metal scene from the UK. You guys are there. And I'm like not saying that you guys are like right there. No, you guys are in that group. And this album could be that one all of a sudden that just sets that in motion a little bit more and sends it to a whole nother level where all of a sudden, yeah, now you're gonna be coming to the US and opening for the fucking Ghost Inside. And then all of a sudden you're gonna be over in Europe opening for Ice Nine Kills. And next thing I know, all of a sudden you guys are gonna be in some crazy horror movie inspired video for Worst Vacation. And I'm gonna love every fucking minute of it. Probably seeing someone getting chopped up by Spencer Charnas. But hey, that's just good stuff. That's just good quality music videos right there.
Fuck yeah.
I'm about it. It
Sounds
sounds
like
like cheap, but I'm keen.
Sounds like an all right year to me. Does that? To be honest, mate, I'm into it. Yeah,
It does sound like an
definitely.
alright year. And I mean, I'm even thinking about like all the albums that are potentially coming out in February. Not gonna lie,
Bad Omens album. That's coming out in February, I think.
problem is because I want to have Bad Omens on the podcast. It might be tough having them on the podcast after you guys, because I might listen and be like, maybe InVisions did it better. I don't know, because I haven't listened to the whole entire thing yet. But I mean, if they're looking to have like the album of the month for February after listening to Deadlock, I'll tell some Bad Omens. You have some serious fucking competition, because this is fucking nuts.
Yes,
Thank
mate.
you, mate.
Fuck
Appreciate
yeah.
it.
Thank
I
you,
love
man.
that. That
And
is
you're gonna-
some solid energy. I love
I'll say,
it.
or
You're gonna make
instead,
us blush.
or instead, then you guys go on tour with Bad Omens. You guys both push both records, and everyone's happy.
I can't believe we're
Mate,
in a
I've-
podcast and you're flirting. I love that.
I know, yeah. Yeah, I feel all shy now.
It's like I'm feeling all, you got the butterflies in me. Is this okay? I'm feeling good. What is this?
No, I've been listening to be fair, I've been listening to that new Bad Omen. Was it the Death of the Peace of Mind or something?
Yeah.
I've been listening to that a lot. I think I've listened to that about like 6 times today, and I never really listened to new music on repeat. Yeah, and there's Noah the singer. Like I was watching some of his stuff on YouTube. He's a fucking great producer. Like he just sits there and makes loads of beats and stuff. He's a pretty interesting guy. I'd like to work with him. That'd be mint.
Yeah, I said to pull up, like, what song was the one that, like, from their new album? It's Artificial Suicide. That's the one from their new album right now with the singles that, like, I was on that latched onto, because I've gotten a chance to see them one time. This is Bad Ones. I got a chance to see them one time, and this was at Rockfest here in Wisconsin in 2021, and they don't allow moshing. Like, they're anti-moshing.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. But Bad Omens went on, and let's just say that I wasn't going to listen to that rule. And we got to go for about 15 seconds for Glass Houses before all of a sudden security came in and broke up the pit. They didn't kick anyone out. They just kind of stood around us and like made sure no one did it. But in that 15 seconds, someone sent their knee right into my head, and I got a concussion during their show.
Oh,
And what makes me mad is the fact that I was like,
Worth
I
it.
couldn't fully enjoy the rest of the show because for 2 reasons. One, I couldn't mosh because they weren't allowing it. There was some dude that looked like super buff Corey Taylor standing behind me, making sure I didn't do anything, because he did the exact same thing during Memphis May Fire for that exact same festival. But also, like, I had a concussion. I'm like, I'm kind of like trying to figure out what the hell's going on here. So I gotta go see him again. I've had a couple of chances, but at a festival, I had to go. There was another band that I've had in the podcast for that was playing the same time as them, so I went to go support the band I've had in the podcast. Or then they had the Ice 9 Kills run. Yeah, I could only go see the first half of the run because that's when everyone was coming by me, and the closest place that was coming by me was like 3-4 hours away on a Tuesday. And I don't think I was going to make that drive on a Tuesday. So I'm like, I need to see Bad Omens live again. So if Bad Omens, and anyone that knows Bad Omens is listening to this, if you guys could do a tour of the US and bring InVisions over, that would be swell. And plus, you both have new records coming out in February.
Yeah,
like, this is perfect. I'm literally making this happen. Like,
we're release month buddies. Like, what more can you want?
I don't know what more
in the stars, isn't it? Really,
it is. I think we might need to tell them that it has to happen. Hi boys, let us come support you. That will be mint. Yours sincerely, InVisions.
Well, I'll even put it this way, and if I get a chance to have him on the podcast for the Death of Peace of Mind release, if I get to talk to him about it, I'll just plant that little idea in their head and be like, hey, you might want to check this one out because you guys on the tour together, trust me on this. 2 new albums, 2 great albums coming out in February. You guys can ride that momentum together. None of that, but the energy of that show, yikes.
It'd be crazy. That'd be crazy, man. I feel like you're just out here just building your dream packages. Like, this is it. You're like, honestly, within the next 6 months, you're going to be a booking agent, just like creating fucking US packages, just absolutely crushing it. I'm all here for it, mate, as long as we're on them.
Oh, dear God. All of a sudden, next you're going to see is like the Ghost Inside, Bad Omens, and InVisions, and then some other smaller metalcore band that I feel like is going to absolutely just like work so well to just like lead into everything. Oh, my God. Yeah, I'm going to probably have to make this happen.
I'm there for it. I am there for it. Sign me up.
And you guys all be done with the show, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, everyone's walking out, and you're gonna see some guy in the pit, like literally, like trying to like crawl out of there. It's like, is that dude hurt? No. He just went so hard that he just kind of like all the adrenaline just like left his body once the show is over. Wait, do we know that guy? And all of a sudden it's gonna look at you guys. Hey, what's up,
mate? As long as you've tied your shoes, it's all worth it.
That's it.
I might need to just like have the shoes tied and then like put duct tape around them so that the laces stay tied and I don't lose them. Honestly, I'd probably do that though. I would end up losing them in the pit. And if I lose them in the pit when you guys are playing and you see a shoe flying in the air, if it lands on stage and it's a size 11 from the US, there's a very likely chance that I didn't throw it, but that shoe belongs to me.
We'll do a Cinderella sniff check, mate. We'll give it a little honk and then honk on your foot, and if the smells match, it's all yours.
I'll say make Josh do it because he's on the podcast. They make him do it.
I like smelling feet anyway. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah. Well, if you guys can find a way to come over to the US and get on some sort of tour package, for the love of God, please do it, because with this record, with this album, with everything you guys got going on, I feel like it's the perfect time to have like this happen with this record. Of course, with the shows come back, fully back now, it's something that's got to happen. So if there's a way we can kind of find a way to like shop your name around to a bunch of bands, get you on a couple of packages over here to the US, and then just have you guys go absolutely ape crazy, and then potentially give me another concussion in the pit from your music, honestly, it'll all be worth it.
Mate, I'm there
for it, mate. I am
as soon as it happens, buddy. Sure, we'll do it for you, Kevin. Just for you, not for us.
We'll call it Kevin's tour.
Yeah. Watch it. You'll call it Kevin's tour, and then like all the dates that you schedule, like the closest date to me will be like 4 or 5 hours away. I'm just gonna be like, you gotta be kidding me, guys. And all of a sudden I get a message, are you still coming to that show? I'm just go, you gotta be kidding me, guys. Are you still coming? Yes.
Yeah, fuck me. We'll both have to fly to the show. It'll be insane.
I'll find if I want to go, if I badly want to go to the show, I'll find a way to it. Trust me on that.
I respect that. I love that, man.
So as we bring this podcast to a close, one thing I do want to say when it comes to the brand new InVisions album Deadlock, when it comes out on February 11th, 2022, this is one thing I want to say. If you like metalcore, if you like rock, if you're just a fan of music in general, you're going to want to listen to Deadlock by InVisions. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be impactful. It's going to have so many layers to it that those first 9 songs, you're going to be like, oh, fuck yeah. And then all of a sudden, Inertia and Fall With Me are going to hit. and this album's going to take you in a whole different direction, the way you want it to take you into that direction. And it's going to be a beautiful ending to one hell of an album. Easily a contender for one of the best albums of 2022 coming out right. And hell, we're not even into most of 2022 yet, and you guys are already putting out this strong of a showing. It's going to be fun watching that like end of the year 2022 album of the year like tournament from Mr. Alan Harrington, because I've got a feeling you guys are going to end up going far in that thing.
I fucking hope so, man. I fucking hope so.
I hope so. So as we bring this podcast to a close, guys, I always like to give you guys a chance to say anything you want to say, plug whatever you want to plug, promote whatever you want to promote at the end of the podcast. So gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Deadlock, 11th of February. Make sure you pick that up, help the store, get some vinyl, some merch. We've got all sorts of great shit. We can ship that worldwide, you know. It comes direct from us. So everything you buy helps us. It helps go straight into the music videos, into everything that we do. But yeah, Deadlock, make sure you check it out. It's going to be a fucking beast.
Sure is. See you in February the 11th.
And hopefully we'll see you in the US later this year.
And hopefully we'll see you in the US as well, yeah.
I'll say we better see you guys in the US. So here is how we're going to end this the way that I like to end it. Because there's usually 3 things I like to do when it comes to ending these little podcast that we like to do. So first things first is when it comes to InVisions, when it comes to finding them online, you're going to want to stay in the know with them, because you're going to want to know when they're going on tour. You're going to want to be in the know of all the things Deadlock when it comes out on February 11th, 2022. Don't forget that. You want to know where to pre-order the album, buy some merch, you know, just get connected with them, music videos, all that great stuff. You're going to want to stay in touch with them. So you're going to want to follow them on all social media platforms, find all this stuff. One problem though, I know you guys. Convenience is a great thing. Why go and search all this stuff up yourself when I could just go in the description of the podcast, say find InVisions online, and just go all the way through and give you all the links, the labels, so it's a one-click, one-stop shop. You don't have any excuse not to get into InVisions, not listen to Deadlock. I mean, you're going to have to do this. And also, you're going to want to check out some merch, because I'm checking out the vinyl variants, and my God, they are sexy.
Oh, damn.
So
That's some fine-ass vinyls.
So, well, I'm gonna take care of this after the podcast, but I'm gonna add that alien green vinyl to my collection and get it for myself. So, when I said I'm gonna support the band, I'm gonna fucking support the band. I'm getting me a vinyl album to play on this bad boy.
Appreciate you, man. If you want, we'll have to fall with me onto it 6 times in a row on the side B if you want.
That would be a bad idea. All right, guys, now time for the second thing I like to end these podcasts with. And this is something that I like to do when it comes to bands having the podcast. I've absolutely enjoyed having on the podcast. It's a certain promise I like to make. And every single band or artist I've had in this podcast has gotten this promise from me. And you gentlemen, well, it pains me to say this, but you have not broken this streak yet, so you getting the promise. So, well, not pains me to say it. I'm actually glad to say it. I just wanted to, you know, make a little bit of a fun thing there. So the promise to you guys, the promise to you guys is this. It doesn't start with if. If implies possibility of not happening. Starts with when. When implies this is gonna fucking happen. We just don't know like the time frame yet. So when I get to see you guys perform live for the first time, my promise to you guys is this. First round's on me.
Hell yeah.
My guy. Yes.
And hold me to it. And if for some reason I'm not able to get you the first round, one thing I also could potentially do is, I might just show up at the show, go see the show, and then just like, I'll meet you guys at the van afterwards, and then just come with a whole case of beer and be like, here.
That sounds awesome, mate. As long as you like agree to help us drink the beer, because, you know.
I'm about
we like to, yeah. I
was gonna say this, Lucas. I don't have a mini fridge that looks like a can of PBR that's full of beer in the corner of my living room for nothing.
See, I love that about you.
So, guys, when it comes to this podcast, I cannot in all good conscience end it with a goodbye. This is number 3. Can't end it with a goodbye for a number of reasons. 1, Deadlock. This album is fucking awesome. You're not going to want to miss out for everyone listening to it, so I'm not going to miss out. I mean, I'm fucking ordering vinyl right when we're done with this thing. It's going to happen. Number 2, I made the promise to you guys. I will see you live. First round's going to be me. If not, I'm bringing you that case of beer. And 3, in the future, maybe sometime next year, I'd love to have you guys back in the podcasting because this was so much fucking fun. So is this goodbye? Hell no, it ain't goodbye. Gentlemen, this is soon. See you later.
See you next time.
Catch you later, dude.
Well, folks, that was my interview with the guys, Alex, Lucas, and Ben from InVisions out of the United Kingdom. Their brand new album, Deadlock, is coming out on February 11th, 2022, and it has layers. I mean, you're going to listen to this thing multiple times through, and by the time you hit, Inertia and Fall With Me, my God, you're going to want to go back for more and more and more and more and more on this album. So you're going to want to stay in contact with the band. You're going to want to know everything about them when it comes to their concert dates, their tour dates, with anything that's coming out with the album release. You're going to want to pre-order, pre-save it, order some merch, whatever it might be. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to want to go and check out all their stuff, follow their stuff, subscribe to their stuff. I have links for everything in the description of the podcast. They'll say find InVisions online. Everything you need for them is right there. Click, follow, subscribe, buy some merch, pre-order the album, save the album, whatever it might be. Do it because you're not going to want to miss out on Deadlock. Trust me on that. I mean, I bought a vinyl right after the recording of this episode. You're not going to want to miss out on it either. Also, please follow us on the Chord Progression Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for all your crazy, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram content that we do, all our live streams, our IGT videos, everything like that. Remember to follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Radio, and Amazon. And also subscribe to the YouTube channel because you get to watch the podcast videos, Why not? You can see some crazy stuff on there. I mean, hell, you've seen me fall out of my chair before. You've seen me knocking the camera out before with my head. Why not keep it up? I want to thank our sponsors, Phoenix Fitness and Custom Debuts. Links and their discount codes are in the description of the podcast. And, man, I was thinking about this. In 2019, the band that absolutely took me by freaking storm in terms of the band that just catapulted into one of my favorites was Ice Nine Kills. In 2020, it was Falling in Reverse. In 2021, it was We Came as Romans. Yes, I know those bands have been around for a while, but for me and my repertoire, that's when they really latched on to me. 2021 or 2022, I should say. InVisions. My God, Deadlock just really started out strong. It might be InVisions. Not going to lie. So on that note, that's going to be for me today, guys. Thank you for watching and listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. That was the big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah!